I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly, just to yourself. What is the thing you haven't tried yet because you're afraid of failing at it? The business idea sitting in a notebook somewhere, the conversation you haven't had, the course you haven't signed up for, the relationship you haven't risked, the version of your life that you've quietly filed under. Maybe someday, probably never. Hold that thing in your mind while we talk today, because by the end of this episode, I want you to see it differently. Welcome to the Better Life Project, conversations for growth, purpose, and everyday life. I'm glad you're here. In this podcast, we'll explore meaningful ideas, honest conversations, and practical ways to grow into a better version of ourselves. Let's begin. Hey, welcome back. 6 episodes in. I have to say, I'm proud of us. Last week, we talked about gratitude in the mess, about finding something worth holding onto even when life is not cooperating. I got messages from people who tried the 7-day specific gratitude practice and said things started quietly shifting. That makes everything worth it. Today, we're going to talk about failure. And before I say anything else, I want to name the thing we all feel but rarely say out loud. Failure is humiliating. Not just disappointing, not just inconvenient, humiliating. In a way that makes you want to disappear, to pretend it didn't happen, to quietly rebuild behind closed doors so nobody sees the rubble. I know because I've been there. Most people who are honest have. I want to tell you about a woman named Miriam. Miriam spent 3 years building a small catering business. She poured everything into it. Her savings, her weekends, her friendships. Honestly, because she canceled more plans than she kept. She learned to cook at a professional level. She built a website. She got her first corporate contract and thought, this is it. This is finally it. 6 months later, the business closed. The contract fell through. A key supplier let her down. The pandemic era costs made margins impossible. And she was left sitting in her kitchen, the same one where she'd had the dream, surrounded by equipment she couldn't sell and debt she couldn't ignore. She told me she sat on the kitchen floor and cried for an hour. And then she made herself a cup of tea. And then she did the hardest thing she'd ever done. She started writing down everything she'd learned. Not what went wrong, what she now knew, what she could do now that she couldn't 3 years ago, who she had become in trying. That list ended up being 4 pages long. 4 pages of capabilities she didn't have before she failed. We have completely broken relationship with failure in our culture. We treat it like a verdict, a final word, a door that closes and stays closed. But failure is not a verdict, it is a data. Thomas Edison, and I know everyone uses this example, but I'm going to use it anyway because it's exactly right. He famously said he didn't fail 10,000 times trying to invent the light bulb. He found 10,000 ways that didn't work. That is not a motivational poster reframe. That is literally how discovery works. Every scientist, every engineer, every doctor who has ever improved the world has done it through a long and unglamorous series of things that didn't work. Failure is not the exception in the process of progress. It is the process itself. Psychologist Carol Dweck spent decades studying why some people collapse under failure while others grow through it. Her research identified two fundamental mindsets. People with a fixed mindset believe their abilities are set. Talent is something you either have or you don't. So when they fail, it confirms their worst fear. They're not good enough. And they protect themselves from ever feeling that again by not trying. People with a growth mindset believe that abilities are developed, that the brain is a muscle, that struggle is not a sign of weakness. It's the feeling of getting stronger. So when they fail, they ask a different question. Not, what does this say about me? But, what does this teach me? Those 5 words are a complete transformation in how you experience being human. Because the truth, the uncomfortable, liberating, life-changing truth is this. The people who succeed the most have almost always failed the most. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her television job and told she was unfit for TV. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by 12 publishers. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. These are not feel-good footnotes. They are the actual story. The failure was not a detour from the path. The failure was the path. And here is what I want you to hold today. The only failure that is truly final is the one that makes you stop. Everything else is just the next chapter. Let's talk about where this actually lives. In the real, specific parts of your life where failure hurts the most. First, parenting. Every parent fails, daily, sometimes hourly. You raise your voice when you promised yourself you wouldn't. You miss the recital because work swallowed the day. You say something in frustration that you watch land on your child's face in a way that breaks your heart in real time. And the parenting guilt. Oh, the parenting guilt. It is a special kind of brutal, isn't it? But here is what I want you to hear. Repairing a mistake with your child is not damage control. It is one of the greatest lessons you will ever teach them. When you go back to your child and say, I was wrong, I lost my temper, that wasn't okay, I'm sorry. You are teaching them something no classroom ever will. You are teaching them that accountability is strength. That love includes honesty, that people who care about you can get it wrong and still show up and try again. Research in developmental psychology is clear on this. Children who grow up watching their parents fail and repair, develop significantly higher emotional resilience than children raised in homes where adults appear to never get it wrong. Perfection doesn't build resilient children. Humanity does. So the next time you fail as a parent, and you will, because you are human, don't just beat yourself up and move on. Go back, repair it, show them how it's done. That moment of repair might be the most important thing you do all week. Second, let's talk about finance. Here's a financial truth that nobody talks about enough. The fear of financial failure is one of the most expensive things you will ever carry. Because fear of failure in finance doesn't usually look like recklessness. It looks like paralysis. It looks like keeping your savings in an account that earns nothing because investing feels too risky. It looks like never starting the business because what if it doesn't work? It looks like staying in a job you've outgrown because at least it's stable. And quietly, year by year, the cause of that paralysis compounds just as powerfully as the 1% growth we talk about in episode 1, except in reversed. I'm not telling you to be reckless. I am not telling you to do things that you don't think about. I am telling you that calculated financial risk, the kind you research, plan for, and take with eyes open, is not the enemy of financial security. Refusing to ever try is. The person who starts a small side income and fails learns things that no financial course can teach. The person who invests and loses some money in the early years learns how markets work in a way that textbooks can't replicate. The person who tries and falls and gets back up ends up almost always further ahead than the person who never moved at all. Start small, fail small if you must, learn large. Your financial future is built not by avoiding every wrong move, but by learning from the moves that didn't work and trying again with better information. Third, relationships. Relationship failure is its own kind of grief. A friendship that faded, a marriage that ended, a family relationship that fractured along fault lines you didn't even know were there until it was too late. And we carry these failures so heavily, we replay them. We look for where we went wrong. We wonder if we're just not built for lasting connection. But here is what I've come to believe, and what years of observing human connection has taught me. Every relationship that ends teaches you something essential about how you love and how you need to be loved. The friendship that broke down showed you which of your values are not non-negotiable. The relationship that ended painfully showed you, if you are honest, something about what you were and were not willing to do. The family rupture, as brutal as it is, often carries inside it a clarity about who you are that years of smooth sailing never could. Relationship failures are not proof that you are unlovable. They are proof that you are human and that human connection is the most complex, beautiful, difficult thing we ever attempt. And if you are in a relationship right now that feels like it's struggling, hear this. A relationship in trouble is not a failed relationship. It is a relationship asking for something different. The question is whether both people are willing to hear the ask. Fourth, leadership. The best leaders I have ever encountered have one thing in common that you might not expect. They talk about their failures openly, not in a perform vulnerability as strategy way, in a real, this is what actually happened, this is what I actually learned way. And when a leader does that, when they sit across from their team or stand in front of an audience or even talk to their child at a dinner table and say, I got that wrong and here's what I do differently, something extraordinary happens. Permission spreads. The people around them feel it becomes safe to try, to take the calculated risk, to put a hand up and say, I don't know, or I got it wrong, or can we try this differently? The culture of a team, a family, an organization is set not by the mission statement on the wall, but by how the leader responds when something fails. You are a leader. We established that last week, which means every time you fail in front of the people you lead, and recover from it with honesty and grace, you are building something. You are building a place where growth is possible, where people feel safe enough to try, where the word failure loses its teeth. That is the most powerful kind of leadership there is. Your challenge this week has two parts. Stay with me. Part 1. I want you to think of a failure in your life, recent or old, that you've never fully made peace with. Something you still flinch at when it comes up. Something you've labeled a mistake and filed away and tried not to think about too hard. And I want you to write, just for yourself, nobody else needs to see this, 3 things that failure gave you: skills, clarity, strength, a direction you wouldn't have found otherwise, a person you became that you couldn't have become any other way. 3 things, even they're small, even if it takes a while to find them. Part 2. Go back to the thing I asked you to hold at the start of today. The thing you haven't tried because you're afraid of failing. I want you to take one small step toward this week. Not the whole leap, one step. Send the email, open the account, write the first paragraph, have the first conversation. One step that proves to yourself that the fear doesn't get the final vote. Remember Miriam? 4 pages of what she'd learned, a kitchen floor and a cup of tea, and an honest accounting of a hard season. She started over, smaller this time, smarter. A home catering service, weekend only, just 20 clients. No corporate contracts, no overheads she couldn't absorb. Within 18 months, she was fully booked every weekend. She had a wait list. She was making more than she had in her corporate job. She told me the first business didn't fail. It was the prototype. Whatever you've been calling your failure, maybe it was the prototype. That's episode 6. 6 weeks, 6 conversations that I hope are sitting somewhere useful inside you. If today hit close to home, if there's a failure you've been carrying that finally feels a little lighter, please share this episode because someone in your world is holding the same weight and doesn't know yet that it doesn't have to be so heavy. Next week, we're going to talk about something that quietly shapes everything. That people in your life, who you surround yourself with, why it matters more than almost any other choice you make, and how to think about the relationships that lift you versus the ones that quietly pull you under. It's going to be honest. Come ready for it. Until then, fall forward every single time. Thank you for being here with me on the Better Life Project. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and stay tuned for more conversations that inspire growth, purpose, and a better everyday life. Until next time, take care and keep moving forward.